A few weeks ago, I had one of the most fun weeks of my entire life, and it was on the Yacht Week Croatia 2022. My name's Jack, I'm a product designer and video maker. In this video, I'm going to be telling you everything that you need to know about the Yacht Week Croatia, including what is the Yacht Week, my personal experience of it, all the costs involved, and finally, whether I would do it again and if it's worth going. So getting started with what the Yacht Week actually is, it's a 7-day experience that you spend on a yacht sailing between different locations. At these different locations, you explore them, you do activities, and most importantly, you go to parties that are organised by the Yacht Week. You're part of a fleet. The fleet that I was on had more than 50 boats and more than 600 people, so there's plenty of people to meet and make friends with. When booking, you can book as a large group of friends and hire an entire yacht. You can also book as a small group and be on a yacht with another group of people, or even you can go as an individual and be part of a boat with completely new people who you've never met before. The Yacht Week do different routes. As I said, the one that I did was Croatia. However, they also do Greece, the Caribbean, Polynesia, and also specific routes for events and festivals such as Hideout. When booking, you get to choose your boat. This varies in size, layout, features, and price. You also have a skipper. We were very lucky to have the best possible skipper. Shout out to Stipe if you're watching. You also have the option to book a host who will cook you meals and keep your boat clean. This comes at an extra cost. And finally, you also get access to an app called Day 8, which is a social networking app just for the people on your week. So you can message them, you can post pictures and talk to other people and get to know them through there before, during and after the trip. So what did I do on my trip? So I'm going to go through each day, starting with day 1, where we flew from London to Split. Went to check in at our boat at the marina near Tregear. We then went out for lunch, did our food shopping and drink shopping. We actually felt like we bought a lot at the time. However, we very quickly ran out and had to go shopping again a couple of days later when we were in a different location. After that, we went back to our boat, settled in and went out that night in Tregear. On day 2, we left very early. Our skipper, Stipe, actually took us to a location where just our boats could go swimming and stuff. That was really fun. We saw fish and it was just nice to be in the sea for the first time on the trip. Then we formed a tunnel raft, which involved the back of the boats facing each other, forming a long tunnel. They're attached by ropes and they were anchored. Then at the end of the tunnel of boats, there was a floating dance floor and a DJ booth. So basically the general idea is you'd swim down the middle, we had floaties and stuff. You could also walk along the other boats and get to know people, and then also go and dance and be pushed off into the water at the very end. This was one of my favourite parts of the entire trip, so much fun. Most of the people we were friends with for the rest of the trip we met on that day, just because it was super social being able to go between the different boats. On day 3 we left the location of the tunnel raft, which was Starograd, and headed to Bol. Unfortunately, I've got something to admit here. I went a little too hard on the tunnel raft day and was not feeling very well on the day we went to Bol, so unfortunately when we arrived in Bol I spent a lot of the day below deck in my bed, while the rest of my boat, who are my friends, went out and enjoyed what there was in Bol. Fortunately, I revived by about 4 PM and could enjoy the rest of the evening. We went out for dinner. We went to this cool club called Club 585, which was completely open air, had really cool lighting, great music, great times. And then at the end of the night we went for a swim back in the marina, which was a nice way to end a night out. Day 4 we sailed from Bol to Hvar. Hvar was described to us as the Saint-Tropez of Croatia. Our boat wasn't actually docked in Hvar, it was docked in a marina called Palmazana, which is an island across from Hvar. This was fine though because there was very consistent water taxis running back and forth between our marina and Hvar, so it was still easy to access. The main event of day 4 was the chic party at Carpe Diem, which involved everyone dressing up in white, and it's basically a day party which, as most of the parties on this trip got pretty messy. We headed back to Hvar for a bit and then the night actually finished back at Carpe Diem. Day 5 again was spent in Hvar. We had more time to explore that day and actually have a look around. We went for lunch at a nice restaurant called Dalmatino, and the main event of that day was at the Hula Hula Bar. It was a beach bar, so it was another kind of party there. The great thing about that was we were actually there during the sunset, so the vibes were immaculate. Great music, great people, great views, great time. And that night also finished at Carpe Diem. Another great fun day. Then day 6 was actually unfortunately a bit of a disappointing day. That day we were meant to sail from Hvar to Vis. However, due to some high winds, it was deemed unsafe for us to do so, so we had to return to the original marina back in Tregear. On the way to Tregear, we did form another raft. This time, instead of being a tunnel one, it was 2 circle rafts, which was actually really cool. Unlike the tunnel raft, which we did for all day, we only did this for a couple of hours in the morning before then heading back to the marina. Once we got to the marina, we chilled and went out in Tregear for the party that we were meant to do in Vis. Again, a little disappointing because we were meant to go to a place called Fort George in Vis, which is like a castle, apparently had really cool views. We still had a great night. We actually ended up not going to the party in Tregear, we went on to Split instead. So although it was disappointing not to go to Vis and Fort George, we still had a great time. And then day 7, the final day. At the start of this day, I actually looked like it was going to be quite a chilled one. We went for lunch with the same people we'd been hanging out with all week, and then there was some talk about a festival happening that night, which was Ultra. Ultra is like a global festival that happens in different locations. That weekend it was in Split in Croatia where we were staying, and with Yacht Week you did have the option when booking to get VIP tickets for Ultra Festival. Me and my friends, when we were originally booking it, decided not to do it. However, when it came to the day, me and one of my mates did change our mind and decide to get 2 tickets. We managed to buy them off other people who weren't going, which made them a lot cheaper. And honestly, this was one of the best decisions of the whole week because Ultra Festival was incredible. If you're into EDM or just like festivals in general, I'd definitely recommend going to it. It was an incredible experience. I've been to quite a few festivals in the UK before, and this was very different. Yeah, definitely an amazing experience and an unreal way to finish off Yacht Week. And then on day 8, we simply checked out, and then we'd booked an Airbnb for that night because our flight wasn't till the next day. So we just chilled, went for dinner, and flew back the next day. So my highlights of the week, probably I'd pick out 3 days. The first one would be day 2, which was the tunnel raft. I love that because it was when we met the most people, and we met the people who ended up being great friends. And then another highlight was Hvar. That day we spent exploring Hvar, the Sunset Beach Bar, and going out again to Carpe Diem that night. And then my final highlight was definitely Ultra Festival, mainly because it was so spontaneous. It wasn't something that I thought was going to happen, and then when it did, it just ended up being potentially one of the most fun nights of the week. So if I went again, what would I do differently? Honestly, because I had such an amazing time, I wouldn't do too much differently. One thing I would consider would be to get a different boat. We had a really nice boat. It was 45 feet long, and because there was only 5 of us in the crew plus our skipper, we actually had quite a small crew for the size of the boat, meaning we had a lot of space. However, because our boat had a single hull, it meant it was quite rocky. It rocked more than if it had 2 hulls, which a catamaran does. which is an option for the type of yacht that you can get on Yacht Week. So I'd definitely consider getting one of those if I did it again. Sure, it would be more expensive, but I think generally one of the biggest complaints from myself and the other people on the boat was we struggled a little with the rocking of the boat. I think generally on boats it's fine, but with the amount that we were going out and combined with hangovers and then the rocky water, yeah, it wasn't ideal, and our heads were spinning for about a week after coming home, so I'd consider that. I would also consider getting a host. We didn't do a great job of self-catering. I felt quite bad for our skipper because we didn't cook a lot of food. If we had a host, that wouldn't have been an issue. From other people we met, I definitely heard mixed things about the hosts. Some people absolutely loved them and their hosts worked really hard, and some people not so much. So yeah, I might consider risking it if I did it again and getting a host and paying the extra money, but yeah, it would be something to consider. So in terms of the cost of the week, prices for the boats do vary, also depending how many people you've got going per boat. Our specific boat cost £850 per person. We were meant to be a crew of 8 people. 3 people dropped out, however they didn't get refunds, meaning that us as individuals did get quite a good deal because we were getting a lot more space than we kind of originally paid for. Then for flights from London to Split return, I paid £300, obviously depending where you're flying from, this is going to vary. And then in terms of spending money, honestly, I'm not sure. I'd say it was probably roughly the same again in terms of the booking fee, what I spent while I was out there. Croatia isn't the most expensive country, however, a lot of the places you're going on this week are quite expensive. For example, the beach bars, the Carpe Diem Club, the Club 585, the prices you're paying there aren't too different to more than likely what you're used to paying at home. Being someone who's lived in London for 6-7 years, I'm used to paying a lot for a drink and it didn't feel too different. During the day when we went to kind of more local pubs and bars, sure, it was cheaper, but overall it was definitely an expensive week, which I don't think will come as a surprise to anyone. So the big final questions: would I recommend it and would I go again? Yes, basically, yes to both. I would 100% recommend going. If you enjoy partying, if you enjoy meeting new people, if you enjoy exploring new places, all while on a yacht sailing around different islands, I don't think you can really go wrong with this. Sure, it's quite expensive, especially just for a week. You could probably travel to a lot of countries for a month or so for the same amount of money. However, honestly, I haven't experienced anything like that week in my entire life, so for me, it was absolutely worth it. Would I go again? 100%. I probably would even go to the same route. However, I think we may even be going on the Greece route next year, not just with my friends that I originally booked with, but also with the people we met while out there, which I think is pretty telling on the kind of experience this is. You get to meet amazing people, you get to have fun with the friends you took with you, you get to see cool places, have crazy experiences, and yeah, I couldn't be really more positive about this whole week. So I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover in this video. If you do have any more questions about the Yacht Week, please do ask them in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer them. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it useful, and subscribe if you want to see more content from myself. Apart from that, see you on the next one.